So for the Quest 4 print ready, um, this is where attention to detail means everything. What you're going to do is create a kayak trifold brochure, and you must use InDesign. You must find your own photos. So the client supplied logo is here. And this is the same aqua logo that you've seen before. It'll open up in Illustrator. I really like the new Illustrator splash screen. That's pretty. By the way, there's going to be a steampunk show and tell on the 9th, if you happen to be fascinated by steampunk stuff, which I kind of am. Huh? Well, you know, that's an issue as well. Let me bring that one up just for fun. Ask me about it later, because we'll get there. So this is the logo that they've provided. It's all set up. You don't have to do anything with this other than make stuff happen. So the logo is there, and the only copy that's going to appear on the front is Aqua Excursions, use the logo. Kayak Tours, Sales and Service, that's the only thing that'll be on the front panel. On side one, the side which includes the front panel, you'll have tour facts, purchasing your boat, special tours, and Aqua Excursions, and address and phone number. Make up your own address and phone number. When you're creating a phone number, use 555 as the prefix. When they built the phone system, they said, let's create a universal prefix that is never used. So when you see a phone number on a TV station or TV channel, program kind of a thing, it always has a 555 prefix. That tells you it's not real. Useful bit of trivia, or perhaps not. Well, if it's a 1-800 number, then it's going to be an actual number. But if they say, hey, big boy, my number's 555-3724, don't bother calling it, because there's nobody that has a 555 prefix. So side two, you're going to want to welcome to Aqua Excursions, tour package for every taste, guided wildlife tours, and ocean adventure tours. Now, you don't have to create your own text. You can use body copy if you want, and you'll submit it as a properly packaged InDesign file with all the goodies in it. All the images need to be CMYK. They need to be at least 300 DPI at its actual colors. Need to have bleeds set up properly, and they should be clear of any problems. So take the time, do this one. Now I've got an example of one that was turned in last time. So here's a print ready one coming up. That shows a fairly nice layout of the way things should be. So first thing I guess we need to do is set up a folder on the desktop. So just somewhere here, I'm going to do a Command-Shift-N, and that's going to give a new folder that's going to be a place that I can save my pictures, and that's going to be important. So we need to look for kayaking. It was a good start, and go to images. You can find the images that you want. The trick is to make sure you go to search tools, make sure your size is large, and that your usage rights are labeled for reuse. That'll cut down on the total number of images, but boy, we still got a whole lot of images to play with. This is why I don't kayak. I tried it for a little while. It isn't all that hard to get out from underneath, but the trick is you lean to one side and you do this twist thing with your hips as you pop your shoulders across and you create enough motion to come back up. And I never could make that happen. So my kayaking class consisted of getting in the kayak by the side of the pool, getting out to the middle of the pool, dumping it over, trying a couple of times till I'd run out of breath, bailing out of the kayak, swimming back to the edge of the pool, getting out, getting back. It was not a good experience. But I've been on raft trips where guys with kayaks are really good, and they'll do what's called a beer roll. They'll come up to your raft, say, "You want to see a beer roll?" And you hand them a beer, and they will take the beer, open it, take a drink, flip the kayak, put the beer on top of the kayak, let go of it, reach over, grab it with the other one, and pop the kayak up and finish the beer. Because it's a really cool thing to be able to do it, and you get free beer for it. You know, I am not a kayaker, and it probably is nothing that I would ever do. So this is a really good image, and I'm going to view image, and actually it downloaded for me, which was kind of nice of it. Didn't really expect it to, but that's okay. So I'm going to go into Photoshop because we kind of have to work back and forth between these things. And I'm going to do a file, open, and hopefully I'm going to be able to find this one in my downloads up at the top when I go date modified and sort there. And there it is. So I can open this one up. Nice picture. I'm not going to do any messing with it other than as far as, changing the color balance. This is a good picture. What I am going to do is go to image size. And wow, this thing is at 300 pixels per inch already. It doesn't get better than this. You're not likely to have this happen. So I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and there's that new Aqua Tours brochure. One of my students today did a brochure, and he had to go back and fix all of his links, and he said, "I really wish I had named these things properly, because this name is really useless." So I'm going to name this one Red Paddle. All lowercase, underscores, instead of spaces. So I'll save that one and make sure save it as maximum. That really is a good, worthwhile picture to have. So I'll go back and say, well, okay, let's see what other pictures I can get that would be good. And I'll save this image as. And this is going to be Black Paddle. I'm going to make sure it goes in the Aqua Tours brochure. So I go through and I find the images that I need. Now, I've got kayak sorts of stuff, so that might work well with purchasing the boat. Maybe I'd need guided wildlife tours. That'd be another good thing to look at. JD, how about this one? Guided wild hog hunts. Not really what we're supposed to be looking for, but uh-huh. You know, I've heard of people doing that, and I've also looked at the tusks on some of these things. Yeah, and they're not nice. I mean, could you imagine ticking that thing off if you just had a Bowie knife? No. I looked at I was doing a thing for a class and, what about your next career? And so I was looking at being a camp host at an RV park. There's one RV park down in Texas that among the features of the park was feral hog hunts, which means, I actually called the guy and he says, yeah, every couple of weeks we have to go out and kill a few pigs and we have a big barbecue and everybody in the trailer park comes and eats pig. Yeah. Well, that's to keep the population down because they're overpopulated pretty bad. Yeah, it's down on the Gulf Coast. So, wildlife tours. And I want to make sure that I've got my usage rights are set properly and that my size is still labeled to big. So, I'd find the kind of pictures that I'd want. That one looks like it might be appropriate. So I'll save this image as, make sure it goes into the right spot. National Park, that's a reasonable name. I'll open that one up in Photoshop as well, just to make sure. Actually, I'm open both of them up to make sure they're right. .300 DPI, that one's perfect. Check this one. This one is only at 72 DPI. That's not good. So I want to turn off resample and bump this up to 300 and say okay. Picture doesn't change at all, but we want to make sure that we save this one as that 300. Now, if I take a look, the image size is going to be smaller. Still, we've got a lot of room to shrink it, but we're going to have a much better picture. So the red and the black paddle ones, great pictures as they are. Uh-huh. So what we're doing, Bobby, is finding the pictures for the final project that I want people to get really well started on, hopefully maybe even done this evening. So, and I'm recording this for Andrea. I'll come to, excuse me, InDesign. And it never likes it to have the top when I'm plugged into the screen. So I had to adjust a little bit. So in InDesign, we need to do a file, new document. And this is going to be a one page. Its orientation is going to be landscape. So it's letter size. It's going to be intended for print. And we want to have 3 columns. We need to open up the, sorry, it needs to be 2 pages because it won't let us do the back otherwise. We want to make sure that we turn off facing pages. So it'll print 2-sided. we want to have a bleed all the way around of 0.125 inches. Not worried about a slug. The margins we want to drop down all the way around to about a quarter or an eighth of an inch, so 0.125 inch. The gutter is where it's going to fold. And probably should have a quarter of an inch gutter, 0.25. 0.25. That would be a quarter inch. It's that dang fraction stuff. I've got an algebra class coming up. It's going to frighten me. So we say, okay. 2 pages. So we've got a page 1 and a page 2, and nothing's on them at the moment. What we're seeing is the margin or the bleed line all the way around. So if we want to have a solid color page, we want to make sure that the color goes all the way out to the bleed. Now, as I look at this, I say, well, these margins are a little bit bigger than I really want. So I'm going to go to my layout menu, margins and columns.
How much was the gutter?
I have the gutter at, should be, it slipped on me. The gutter should be a quarter of an inch. And I want my margins to be 0.25 all the way around. That's going to look more reasonable. Uh-huh. So you can see how this has changed this setup. Now,
What was the paper size?
8.5 by 11, letter size, landscape. Make sure it's landscape, otherwise things get really bad. Okay, so I drop back over to my quest and say, well, side 1 needs to have the tour facts. So this is going to be the front panel. So I need to have the Aqua Excursions. Ooh, I better save this Aqua Excursions into the right folder. So I'm going to go to my Finder, and I'm going to open up a new folder or a new window and go to my desktop. Open this Aqua Tours brochure, set it aside, go to my downloads, and there's that Aqua Tour or Aqua logo modified, and I'm just going to move it in. Now, do I have anywhere near enough photos or text there? The answer is heck no. Do I know where these things are going to go? The answer is not even close yet. But I've got some pieces ready to go. Now, the next piece that is critical is figuring out where things are going to be. Here's where you need to grab a piece of paper.
Thank you.
It wouldn't surprise me if I went to grab the stack of paper out of the door. You didn't make a landscape. That's perfect. Real easy to see when that one goes wrong. Because with that one, you'd be folding your trifold brochure like this, which would not be good. So we want to fold this in about thirds, like so. Now, there are 2 different ways we can do this. This one is called a barrel fold, and it makes kind of good sense because you kind of wrap it around the barrel. You could also have a Z fold that would fold it like this. So instead of wrapping it around, most of the time, people are going to use the barrel fold. But you may have somebody want a Z fold. Never seen anybody use that. So this starts to tell where things are, and Ray did a much neater, everybody did a much neater job than I did.
I don't know,
I think you're closer than mine are, and that's okay. Yeah. So the trick is, and depending on how OCD you happen to be, which I'm getting kind of bored at that, I have to fix this thing too, because it isn't right. So we need to figure out what goes where. So on the cover, which is going to have the front panel, which is going to say Aqua Tours. And then we need to figure out, let's see, the front panel needs to have Kayak Tours, sales service. So that's the stuff that's going to go on the front panel along with the logo. Okay. So that goes on the front panel. So when you open it up or you grab it before you open it up, you've got that stuff on it. The front has to have this copy on the front panel, and it's right here in the Quest. The front side, so when you open this up, it would put the Aqua Tours logo on the front of it here, and we would have to have things like the company name and address and phone. That often will go in the center panel so that when people are looking at it, they pick it up, they turn it over. This would have more information on it. So I kind of like to put that stuff, company name, and
So kayak tours, sales and services are the only things you can
and the logo.
find.
Okay. Then we need to have special tours or tour facts, purchasing a boat, and special tours. Then the inside will say, when you open up, welcome to Aqua Tours. Tour package for every taste. And guided wildlife and ocean adventure. This then becomes the blueprint. So on one side, on the far right panel, as I'm looking at it, far left panel as I'm looking at it now, it'll have what it says right here. Okay, this is the only copy that will appear on the front panel with the logo. Okay, side one, which is the rest of this side, must have this copy. And it can be split between these two panels. Side two.
Cover and
So So you've got, I'd put the company name, address, and phone number here.
Right.
Then the frequently asked questions, purchasing a boat, special tours, whatever else goes there. Then side 2, you have these things that go on those panels.
So side 2 is the whole inside.
Uh-huh. And you've got 3 panels to work with. And we take a look again at this one. And he did some really nice things with this. He did some fun events. Like I say, you do not have to come up with your own body copy, but you do need to come up with the font that you want to use. The problem with this is he's got his font too close to the edge, and it would kind of run off. So you have to make sure that you leave room for your folds. Turn off hyphenate. Absolutely. Good catch. That's what he's got for the inside. Whoops. This mouse and PDFs just do not get along.
This is the inside. It's like 2.
This is the inside. This is the inside. So you've got the Welcome to Aqua Tours, tour for every taste. This is side 2. And it really doesn't matter which one is side 1, side 2, because it matters how you fold them. Hopefully on Thursday evening, they'll have their Thwacata machine going. It is absolutely amazing to watch the folders. They'll take a ream, 500 sheets, and it will go through this folder and absolute precision fold crease, and it'll do probably 500 in a couple or 3 minutes. I call it the Thwacata machine because that's what it sounds like. But it's it's really fast. I've had fun working those kinds of machines.
I actually went in and watched James today.
Good. Okay.
It was awesome.
So that's where things need to be set up. He's done some really nice things here with effects. So if I were to start putting some things here in InDesign, here's my page 1, the back side. The first thing I would need to do is place my logo. So that's on my desktop in the appropriate folder, and there's the logo. I can just pop that in. And I kind of want this to go from here to here, side to side. So there's the logo and it fits in the margins. Then I take a look and say, well, what needs to go, else needs to go there? Kayak tours, sales, and service. Well, I'm just kind of going to cheat on this a little bit. I'll just copy this text and paste it into a text box here. And I know that I'm probably going to have a picture here. I know that in this box, I'm going to have to, or on the back side, I'm going to want to put in the company name and address. So again, I'll swing over here and say, okay, company name, address, and phone, I know is going to go onto this side. And the last panel is going to have these things. Whoops, that goes on the last panel. So I just pick it up and move it. Then I say, okay, what needs to go on the inside? And I can figure out what copy I need again by coming here. Okay, side 2. And I'll just kind of take all this at once just because it's easier. So I'll put the same text in 3 times and then just delete the stuff that I don't need on each page. Not sure how I want to break this out yet, but it's just a matter of fussing with it till I get things closer to the way I want them. I'm on the inside, side 2, just like it says here. So I've got things laid out. This is the first and the hardest step. Once things are laid out, then it's a matter of saying, okay, I need to start putting a picture in. So a picture is going to go into a frame. So I'm going to do a Command D on this one, and I think the black paddle ought to go into this one. Now, this picture doesn't fit, so I'm going to right click on it, go to fitting, and fit the content to the frame. This is whatever side happens. This is side 2, page 2. Now, if I want to do some fancy things to this picture, once it's here, and I'll move the picture wherever I want it to go. Then I'll do Object, Effects, and I think a drop shadow would look really nice on this, and probably put a bevel and emboss on it as well. Preview. See what that does to the picture? I like that a lot. So this picture may need to be down here. It's just a matter of deciding where you want to put things. Right at the moment, this text is Minion Pro 12 point, which is boring. So you'd find a font that you like. That's interesting. It's not wanting to change fonts for me. There it went. And this is a headline, so it's probably going to be a little bit bigger. Maybe even be bold. Yeah, medium's all I get for that. I don't get bold, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger yet. And center it up. Then when I drop down below, 12 point font. Now, if I want this box to be bigger, maybe down to there. And then I can go to my type menu and fill with placeholder text. Want to make sure that hyphenate is turned off, which it is on this one by default. So those are the steps. Now, I'm going to fast forward a bit. Assuming that I had turned both pages of this into a beautiful brochure, the next step would be to go to the File menu and Package. So the links are found, nothing's modified. I've got a RGB color space. Shoot. I got to fix something. So I'm going to cancel here, go to page 2, where I know that picture is, and I'm going to click on this picture, right click on it, and edit original. And it's going to take me right back into it in Photoshop. I need to go to Image, Mode, change this to CMYK color. It's that quick and that easy. Then File, Save. And it just saved right over the top of it. When I go back to my InDesign, this picture has now been converted because it's automatically linked. Now, let's say that this is all ready to go now. I've converted all the pictures that I need to convert. Probably would have been real smart of me to make sure I converted them first. That would have made good sense.
But that still was good that you did that.
Yes. Well,
So,
that's the beauty of the pre-flight that tells me if I don't see any error messages here, that's a very good thing. This would be good for laying out your ads and making sure that things were right. So when I package this, it says you got to save it before I continue. So I suppose I better save it and make sure that it comes in here.
these are only on the camera ready one.
Uh-huh, but you've got to make sure that's right. Now, this printing instructions, you could add any additional information that you needed on here to make it go. I'll continue with this, and it's going to create a folder. Inside of the folder here, I want to make sure that I include the HTML or PDF print. And I want to make sure it's highest quality print. So that'll package up. Then here's the folder that has everything in it. What I want to submit to the Dropbox is a compressed version of this. So I don't know if we were to add up whatever this would add up to be. But some of it's kilobytes and some of it's megabytes. But it'd be safe to assume that if we compress it, it's going to create something smaller than the whole thing together. And that's what you'll want to submit into the Dropbox.